I want to talk about buying out your lease. How do you know if it's a good idea? How do you know if it's a gigantic check mark or if it's a big fat red X? A few months back, my brother bought out his Lexus lease, quite possibly the best financial decision, somebody coming out of a Lexus lease, and the buyout on the car is at the retail value. I've heard of people buying out their Toyotas and Hondas at way below market value because the valuation was made pre-COVID or just during COVID. And I want to tell you that every situation is so unique, and I want to break it down in this video as far as what you should be looking at, what metrics should you be looking at to decide if you should or shouldn't buy out your auto lease. What is happening, guys? Ari here from negotiationguides.com, and in the description below you're going to find various resources to help you navigate not only the car buying process but getting an auto loan, as well as checking your FICO auto scores and getting insurance rates. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, because this whole channel is going to teach you everything you're going to need to know so that you can negotiate your best possible deal. You guys, let's get down to business. Okay, so first and foremost, do you belong to the hyper valued brands or do you belong to the level valued brands? I made up these terms. You shouldn't Google these terms. These are things that I just made up right now. But do you belong to the hyper valued camp, as in, are you in a Honda or a Toyota lease or a Ram or a Silverado lease? Or are you in a 3 Series / Mercedes C-Class lease that you know you may be rolling the dice a little bit if you bought out that lease? Figuring out which camp you're in is crucial to this. Some of the indicators that you want to look out for: is it a foreign vehicle that you're currently leasing? Do you have an accident report on the vehicle? Did you get a bad deal on the car initially? If you answered yes to any of these questions, pay very close attention and let's figure out whether or not you should do it or not do it. Cars won't really come back to their pre-COVID values until about 2025. These experts are all putting values right now as just hyper inflated. As in the car market right now, you're going to find that values for cars are not necessarily going to stay how they are right now through 2025 or 2026. Things are naturally just on the decline, and you shouldn't be gauging what your car is going to be worth based off of what it's worth now. Something that got Carvana into trouble was buying up these vehicles more than what they were worth. And a lot of dealers just sitting there, just scratching their head, asking themselves, why can't we get our hands on some decent cars anymore for a decent price? And then everyone decided to jack up their prices. So let's decide, how long do you want to keep your car? Do you think you're only going to keep it temporarily? And if so, I don't think buying it out is a good idea. The reason why is because you're probably going to buy for very, very high right now and sell for extremely low. So if you're considering buying out your lease, you shouldn't buy it if you're going to be keeping it for only a year or two. You should buy it if you're going to be keeping it for a really long time, like I would say between 3 to 5 years. Is the vehicle you're driving a gas guzzler? Do you want to consider maybe getting an electric or a hybrid this time around, given that gas prices are probably going to continue fluctuating for a little while? The last point, do you actually like the car, or are you just thinking about keeping it because you know it's probably a financially responsible move to make? If you think that you deep down should be keeping the car, let's move on to the next step. Let's figure out what the actual demand is for this car. Just because your friend may have had a particular experience, that doesn't mean it's a good indicator of the experience that you're likely to have. I wouldn't even rely on KBB. I would be shopping around for your car by searching for a clean version, a clean retail version of your car on cars.com. And I would be searching for a private seller on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist to see what those people are selling their cars for. Right now, what I'm looking for is a difference of about 15% from between what your payoff value is via the bank and what this vehicle is selling for right now as a clean retail car. If you don't have between 10 to 15% in between these two values, it would make no sense to buy out this vehicle, because your car is going to rapidly depreciate and you're probably going to be in a negative equity situation a couple of years from now. We're looking for a really hefty difference, somewhere in the ballpark of about 30%. So if you If you have a payoff on the car of $20,000 and they're selling this car for $26,000 on the market, go for it. But if you got a $20,000 payoff and it's going for $20,500, just turn in the car and do what you actually really want to do. Go cheaper, go more expensive, just whatever you actually really wanted to do. Don't stick to just that car. Next, do not take an accident report lightly, you guys. Once that car has an accident and you're leasing it, you won't actually need to take financial responsibility for it if it was fixed correctly, because the bank assumes responsibility. However, once you purchase that car, you have the financial responsibility for it. You're going to quickly realize that having an accident report on your Carfax is going to severely impact the value of your vehicle. Don't rely on an online valuation of your car. Don't just go to KBB and try to figure out what a car like yours with an accident report is currently selling for or being valued for. You need to get an actual valuation done by a dealer. Get the car appraised and figure out how much the car is actually worth. And once you figure out what it's actually worth versus what your payoff is, we're still looking for a difference of about 15 to 30%. Why 15? Because it has an accident report on it now. This key factor, a lot of people don't take into consideration until they get surprised at the dealership. Did you get this car originally towards the beginning of its model design cycle or its end? Did you buy that Honda Accord right at the end of the year sales event when the new model was coming out? Or did you buy it toward the beginning of the year when that new model just came out? If the car you're in is expecting a redesign and you go in to sell it a few years from now and it already got redesigned twice what you were thinking it would likely sell for, it's probably going to sell for a little bit less than that, because now you're two body styles old and not just one body style old. And this works both ways. If your car was a recently redesigned car and it's still the current design, you may actually have a little bit more flexibility if you decide to buy it and then sell it a couple of years from now. The last thing, you got to be super realistic with yourself. How has the car been treating you? Did you check out repairpal.com to see if this car has been treating others well? Is this car commonly complained about? Has this car been giving you trouble? Do you like the color on it? Do you see yourself driving it? Could you be driving something a little bit more fuel efficient? What is your heart telling you? If you really want to stay in the car and the value of the car that you're in is roughly around the payoff of the car, I would say it's a risky move, but you could buy it out and feel comfortable. However, if you're checking off all the boxes, going on to cars.com and seeing your same car selling for 30% more than what your payoff is, and you actually love the car, then buy it. But if you're seeing your payoff value and then going on to cars.com and seeing nearly the car selling for nearly the same, if not for less, chances are it's probably not a good move. More indicators: if it's got an accident, if you think for whatever reason it's going to give you a lot of trouble later on, if you think that it's going to need a lot of repairs later on, just turn it in while you can. Again, you guys, resources in the description below to help you with different tools to navigate the car purchasing and leasing process. And if you found this information useful, please consider subscribing. Click right here. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.